More and more companies are looking for talent to hire on LinkedIn, and yet many have not updated their profiles or have not included a storytelling style on their LinkedIn profile, which makes a difference in hiring you or not. Donna Serdula will give us pointers on how to have a LinkedIn profile to attract work and engagement. Welcome to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Katrina Berus, and today we have a brand strategist that has an agency that works with coaches and executives. She has written LinkedIn Profile Optimization for Dummies, and she's going to tell us how to promote your brand with LinkedIn. Donna Serdula, welcome.
Hi, Katrina. Thank you so much for having me.
So, you've written the book, LinkedIn Profile Optimizations for Dummies. So you can assume that our listeners are not that expert on LinkedIn. So tell us, how do you optimize your LinkedIn profile to get found?
You know, in order to get found, it's really important to know what you want to get found for, right? Because a lot of times, you know, depending upon how you write your profile, you can get found for a whole bunch of things. It might just not be what you're looking for. So it is important to be very clear. You know, are you on LinkedIn for thought leadership? Are you on it for reputation management? Are you doing this for job search? You know, it could span a whole bunch of different reasons.
So give us an example, because many of our listeners are or coaches or leaders. So give us an example of a coach that wants to be known to be, say, an executive coach. What would you recommend?
So what I would first say is, would an executive search for executive coach, or would that executive potentially be searching for other pain points? You know, could it be leadership development? Could it be public speaking? Could it, like, what might the other search terms be? And so, you know, you'd want to do a little bit of a brain dump and just say, this is what I'm known for. These are my strengths. This is who I am and how I help. Once you can really figure out what those terms are, then you want to, you know, really sprinkle them and massage them throughout the profile. And it starts at the very top in the headline field. It's not enough to just have your current company and your current title, but, you know, you want to use this as a way of, you know, really putting forth your keywords as well as your benefit. From there, you'd want to go down into your about section and through your experience. And as you create content, you want to write it as a narrative. You don't want to just take the easy way out, which most people do, which is, you know, they just copy and paste, you know, a resume or a bio. But you really want to look at this and say, what is my target audience? What do they need to know about me? You know, what am I proud of? You know, how do I want to be perceived? And then you want to craft narrative that fits. And as you're crafting it, you want to think of those keywords and you want to utilize those keywords in that content. Once you do that, and there's certain areas that are more sensitive than others, like I said, the headline, the about, the job titles, those are all very important pieces. But as you use those words, as you use those terms, that's part of when you'll start to turn up higher in search results.
Okay, so basically as really keywords, if I understood correctly, get the benefits that you can provide, definitely show your expertise, use the title, the headlines with keywords, and not overlook the about section and write it in a narrative. Okay, so now let's say we've all done that, thanks to your guidance. And then what's to network on LinkedIn? What's the most important things to remember?
You know, in terms of networking on LinkedIn, you do want to make sure that you have a strong network. That offline network is reflected in your online network. And, you know, I think that most people are rather split with LinkedIn. Either they have a small network, maybe almost too small, where they've been far too conservative in who they've connected with, versus someone who may have just gone really crazy and they've connected with everybody and their brother. You want to find that sweet spot in between. and make sure that you're always connecting. Make sure that as you meet people, as you go about your day, whether it's, at networking events or business meetings, calls, emails, that the people that you're interacting with, that you're connecting with them on LinkedIn. So it's important to have that foundation of connections. Now, with that said, with LinkedIn now, there is the follow button. So if there is someone that you want to get to know, but you don't know them yet, you don't necessarily need to send them a connection request. You can follow them on LinkedIn. And provided that they are active users and they're posting and they're doing, they're actually creating content, you'll collide with them and you can interact with them. And before you know it, you could send them that connection request and they can accept it with confidence.
I see. Really good suggestion. So really follow them, comment when they're active so that they see your name several times before you ever connect or request to reconnect. Yeah. Is that correct?
Correct. And, Katrina, there's a new feature on LinkedIn that I absolutely love. I adore it. It is a little bell that shows up on the intro card, and it's to the far right of your profile picture. But when you follow a person, when you connect with a person or you follow a person, that bell appears. And if you click that bell, you'll get notified whenever they post, which is a great way of, making sure that they stay on top of your mind so you can engage when they do.
Now, you can only do it once, the bell, right?
You can click the bell. I can't recall the order, but I think the order is you click it once and it turns on and it says you will be alerted of top posts. But then if you click it again, then it's going to say you will be alerted of all posts that this person does. And then if you click it a third time, it turns off. So you have that option of saying, I just want the most popular ones, or I want all of them.
So that's great. So you can really follow what they do and be notified.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if a person, you can always look at that person and you can scroll down to their activity section and you can see if the person looks like they're very active, that they are, they're taking their thought leadership very seriously and they are posting with frequency and fervor. Only the top posts would probably be the best option for you. But if a person is, maybe with some frequency, but not all the time, where there's some lag between posts, then you can say all. And that way, the next time they do post, you'll be alerted.
Wow, that's great. So this will be a way that for them also to see that you're following them. Is that correct? Or is it just that if you click on the bell that you will see what they post?
You will see. Yeah, you'll see it. The executive or whoever it is that you've decided to follow, they aren't exactly alerted. They don't have a list of, you can see that they've followed you, but by clicking the bell isn't alerting anyone. It's just, that you did, but no one else knows.
Great. And how do you attract business partners and employees with your LinkedIn? Because more and more, I find that people are using LinkedIn to hire.
They are. And in fact, it was at one time, Katrina, a company would say, oh, we're looking at these candidates and they better look good on LinkedIn. They better have their, their resume up to date and all of that career trajectory listed on LinkedIn. It was very one-sided. For a very long time, it was one-sided, where it was the company looking at the candidates. But the candidates have gotten so much more savvy and they're looking back at the executive team, the company, the employees, that department that they're going to be working at. And they're looking at their profiles, not just the company page, but they're looking at the CEO's profile. They're looking at the people who they might be working alongside. And they're making their own connections and judgment and saying, you know what? This company is not full of rock stars. This company, everyone looks like they're looking. I don't want to work here. I want to work at a place that's challenging. I want to work at a place that really has a culture that I can see and feel from these profiles and from, the posts that are going out. So companies that really do want to recruit that best of the best, that top talent, they do need to start looking and saying, how are we as a company putting ourselves out there on LinkedIn? How do our employees look? How does our leadership team look?
Do companies help their employees and their leaders craft their LinkedIn profile to have?
Most do not, Katrina. Most do not, which is a shame because it's a huge missed opportunity and it's a hole. I've seen over the last, I'd say 4 years, an increase in clients in companies that have come to us and said, we need you to do our executive team's profile. We need you to do our sales team's profiles, or we need you to do all of our, executive vice president, department heads, whatever it might be. I'm seeing more and more of it because for so long, there was this mindset of if we optimize our employees' profiles, they will be poached. We will lose them. They will run. They will be taken from us. But the truth of the matter is, and I think the reason why these companies are hiring us is when we come in to optimize these profiles, we're not optimizing them for job search. We're optimizing them for prospect-based searches. We are optimizing them to attract job candidates. We're optimizing them with the company message. So it's a totally different narrative and optimization that we're doing for these profiles.
Yeah, so to make it more enticing for people to want to work there.
Or work with, right?
Yeah. Yeah, work with, for sure. Very interesting. What a shift. What a shift.
Yeah, it is a big shift because for so long, like I said, there was always this thought of, oh my goodness, I don't want any of my employees to look good. I want them to look terrible because otherwise recruiters will poach them. But what we found is that's not the right mindset, because if your employees look bad, you're going to have a hard time getting the right talent. You're going to have a hard time with prospects. Prospects are going to look at, these application engineers, I don't want to work with them. They're not spokespeople. They're not experts. So it really is important to look at your assets, your number one asset, which is your employees, and really make sure that the message their profile is conveying is one that matches the company message and, attracts the best.
Yes. And I found that coaching my executives, they are looking also on their LinkedIn profile to give the branding, their own branding, so that they can manage their career. And LinkedIn is a way of doing it. So what do you say about that?
I think it's a very strategic approach, and it's the right thing to be doing. And there's a balance, right? The balance is for that executive. You want to have your own strong brand. You really want to showcase your thought leadership, your knowledge, your expertise. That is important. At the same time, there should be a little bit of a balance with where you're currently at and the pride and, that commitment that you have. The nice thing is with LinkedIn, you want to make sure that you're showcasing who you are and your specialties and all of that good stuff that you bring to the table, because there are opportunities there. And it doesn't matter if it looks like you're connected to another organization or whatever it might be. There is opportunity, and you can decide and determine what you want to open yourself up for.
So let's say that someone that's working in a company and they want to leave the company and they want to develop their personal brand to be more attractive to another company. What would you suggest?
I would absolutely not suggest copying and pasting a resume or putting oneself out there as a desperate job seeker, because it is desperate and it turns people off. I would suggest absolutely making sure that the profile speaks to, who you are and what you represent. It should be a digital introduction. It should be almost a professional manifesto. And write it not with the idea that you're telling people who you are, but, show them through descriptions and examples. By doing that and really thinking about where do you want to go in the future? Like, what does the future look like? I think, Katrina, I think what the biggest issue I see is most people, they will fill out their profile, however they do it, and then they don't touch it again, and it ages. And suddenly the person that everyone is looking at online it's a past version. It's no longer current. And or it's so perfectly branded for who you are today and not that future person.
Excellent.
So you have to keep it up to date, but you always need to be forward thinking. So that person who wants to move ahead, you've got to say to yourself, I have to stop branding myself as who I am right this very second, because that's why I'm here. You need to start to say, okay, of all of the things that I have on my profile, or, and this works also with the resume, what do I want to continue to do? And what do I never want to do again? And those things that you never want to do again, get rid of. And really focus on those things that forward you, that align to that future state. Because that's when you're going to start to collide with those opportunities. Because again, with all of this, people are searching for particular skill sets and abilities because they don't know you exist. For most people, so they're trying to find a person like you or that person that you want to be. So you need to really think in terms of what would those keywords be? What are those skill sets? What are those strengths? And make sure you infuse that into your profile. Future forward.
Great suggestion. And Donna, what about, videos on LinkedIn? What's the best way to communicate now, given LinkedIn today? Streaming, videos, what do you suggest?
One of the newer features is a profile video. So right where the profile picture is, where you upload your professional headshot, that area, you can actually also include a video of yourself. And for a coach, you could if you have a video of yourself speaking on stage or, doing something related to what you do, that's something you could upload. I mean, you could even upload just a video introduction where you speak to the camera and say, hey, thank you so much for visiting my profile. My name is Donna Serdula, and this is how I help. It's a really great way of, humanizing yourself and getting people to see who you are and how you speak and how you conduct yourself.
And how long are these videos that will upload?
Yeah, they're very short, Katrina. They're about 30 seconds at most. So you have to be very succinct in what you say. But that's a fabulous tool. There's also the ability on the mobile app, and that's true. The mobile app is where you can do the video, but it's also a place where you can pronounce your name on LinkedIn through the mobile app. Most people don't even realize it's there, but if you're looking at profiles, you may notice that there's a speaker next to some people's names. If you click that speaker, you hear them say their name. So that too is another really nice way of getting the multimedia into the profile.
Yeah, goodness, I didn't even know that. Mm-hmm.
My favorite section now of the profiles, and so few people use it. Oh my goodness, Katrina, so very few people use it, is the featured section. You have to add it. It doesn't just automatically pop in, but that featured section, it's very close to the top of your profile. And you could put links to your website, to videos on YouTube of yourself. You could put links to articles, but it's a really great way of directing traffic just out of LinkedIn and to wherever your digital footprint may lie.
Wow. Featured section, huh? Top profile. Then you link it to your webs, to articles, to videos, right? And even to YouTube or another platform or not.
Yeah. And I've got to give you a shout out. I'm looking at your profile right now and you have these wonderful links. It's that featured section and you're using it in a really great way.
Oh, well, thank you. God, I'm glad I'm doing something right, huh? Yeah.
So, you're doing a lot of things right.
I wanted to ask you also, you've been working with executives a lot. So what have you learned that executives really need in particular?
I think for executives, there is a need to have that objective party where they can bounce ideas off of and really get to the core of their story and who they are and the intersection of the company as well. For most executives, it's hard to find that time to really sit down and write about themselves. And oftentimes it's hard because they've done so much. They have these amazing accomplishments and abilities, and it feels almost, it's a burden, but it's also really strange. It's like, how can I put this out there where it doesn't sound like I'm bragging or I'm, being full of myself? And I think working with a writer is imperative because a professional writer can take that story, take all of those accomplishments, those abilities, those strengths, and put it together in a manner where it's high level, it feels authentic, there's an aura of transparency to it, and a person reads it and feels like there's a real honest to goodness feeling that's being evoked. And that I think is really important. And I think a lot of times people think, oh, the LinkedIn profile, I'll get it done in 5 minutes. Like it takes a lot longer. It's very robust. There's so much that can be done there.
Wow. So, yeah. And plus it's changing all the time. So it's hard to be updated with all the new features and changing features. Any suggestion there of how to stay updated besides using your services?
I would absolutely suggest following me on LinkedIn because I'm trying to always, whenever I see a change, an update, something new in terms of the features or functionality, I'm posting about it. So following me on LinkedIn is a really good way of staying up to date. But LinkedIn has a fabulous blog that also from time to time will tell you that there's changes up ahead and that changes are coming. But, I think for executives, and I think even for the coaches themselves, there's this desire to totally outsource LinkedIn. Let me have someone else do all of this for me. And you can outsource the optimization of the profile. I mean, you really can do that. I mean, you have to be a part of the process, but having someone write that for you is fine. But you can't necessarily outsource the networking and the relationship building. That's something that does require your own presence. And so I would say to the question, how do you stay up to date on the changes? The way you stay up to date is making sure that at least once a week, you log in and you scroll through and you check people out and you see what's going on and you use it as a tool. And when you do that, the changes aren't as drastic as if you were to, log in once every 6 months.
Yes, I would think. And even answering people that are trying to connect with you or friends that are telling you something important. There's a lot of messaging too, as well.
Yeah. There's also, and I think you had mentioned this to me when we first started talking, there is a lot of salesiness on LinkedIn, unfortunately. At least once a week, log in and see what's going on. It's a great way of staying in touch with your network and just staying in touch with what's going on with LinkedIn.
Yes, and Donna, tell us where people can get a hold of you.
Sure. People can find me on my website, linkedin-makeover.com. They can also follow me on LinkedIn.
Great. And it's Donna with 2 N's?
Yep.
Great. Thank you so very much. This is super interesting.
Oh, Katrina, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. You can subscribe to all future podcasts at excellentexecutivecoaching.com. Join us each Wednesday to learn more about the latest trends in leadership techniques and bring your coaching to the next level. To learn more about Dr. Burris's CEO Mastermind, use the contact form at excellentexecutivecoaching.com.